Hi everyone, it's Mike here and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So it's day 3 of my 7 days of Halloween series, and today I'm going to be sharing with you a brand new MDF collection which is a Ghastly Gravestone. So let me turn over to my other camera and I'll show you what's included in the kit and then I'll put it all together. Okay, first of all let me show you what you get in the kit. So you have the base and the stand. It's like a 2-tier stand that's got a slot hole in both of them so that your main tombstone piece will just literally slot together just like that, and that will stand up. Simple mechanism. Then you've got the grass frontage, which you can either stick directly onto the bottom of the tombstone, or you can slightly offset it to create a little bit of a gap behind, which is what I intend to do, because with that you've got room to be able to put a couple of zombie hands bursting from out of the grave. And then you've got all this space here. You don't have to put both of them in if you don't want to. You could also have them tweaked out at an angle. You've got skull and crossbones. You've got the letters RIP if you want to. Now you could put that in the middle there, down at the bottom. And then you've got room at the top to put either a little flourish decoration, or you could stick a little bat across the top. There's also a couple of bat wings, which you could use if you want to. Let me just move those out of the way, to go behind the skull. So there's lots of different kind of connotations, different kind of combinations that you can use, combinations that you could use if you want to create a little bit of depth on your tombstone. So that's the basic raw. You just have the one if you wanted to. Maybe move that down a little bit. Bring it all the way down there. You could have the rip at the top, the rest in pieces at the top. You could have that poking across there a little bit, so you've got a bit more height. The skull, the crossbones. Then you can stick your hands like so. Don't forget that's your final base. So there's lots of different ways you can put it together to create a really creepy little standy bit of home decor for Halloween. So first of all then, let me get rid of this cloth, then we can get to gluing together, sticking together, and then we can start painting and decorating. Almost like magic that, wasn't it? Okay, so just to start off with, I'm not going to paint anything just yet. I want to actually glue everything together. So I've got some glue in a little fine point applicator. So all I'm going to do is just squeeze. It's just standard PVA. Because we're using MDF, Medite, white skull glue is probably the best. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick that in just to make sure that I've got it in the right position. And don't worry about any squishing glue coming out, because we're going to paint it anyway. So that's going to be in the right position, so that can stay where it is. Okay, so we'll forget about the grass for a little while. So now we've got to decide whereabouts we want to put things. So I think I'm going to put the bat wings behind the skull, and then we've got the crossbones. That's going to be about there. So once we've worked out our composition, we can then put that little filigree with the about just there, and then we've got enough room at the top just, if we move that up a little bit, yeah, we've got enough room to get that in, and then that's where the grass will go, and then we've got room to put our hands maybe at different heights on the composition. Right, so now we kind of know what we're going to do, we can start adding some colour. I'm going to paint the base here completely black. I've got some black gesso, so I'm going to give the whole thing a complete coat of black. But remember, down at the bottom, not to paint that bit there, because that's the bit that's going to get stuck into the base. I mean, you can mask it off if you want to, it's not really necessary. So I'll go ahead and paint the front just as a primer coat. You could use clear, I'll explain why, or even white if you want to. But black, it's mainly because I've got more black gesso than anything else. I'm kind of running out of white. So let me just clear this, I'll paint this, and then I'm going to do the same thing to the skull and the crossbones and the bat wings and those embellishments there that I put to one side, but not the grass. Okay, so those are all the pieces that I want to just paint black. Obviously I want to get these dry before I do anything else, so I'm just going to give them a quick blast. Okay, so that's all it needs. I knocked over my cutting mat. Right, so I just need to put these to one side now, and then I'm just going to have a quick tidy up, a quick clean of my mat now that they're all dry, and I'll be right back. Okay, so everything's now dry. I've got my glue back, so now I'm going to start sticking everything down, just adding on a little bit of glue onto the backs. Now obviously far too much on there, look. Let me just grab a brush. And I can utilise that glue for something else, like probably the bat. That's more like it. Sometimes this glue, you never know what the flow's going to be. Right, so let's stick that down at the top so it just shows a little bit above. Don't worry too much about the glue squishing out from underneath. Okay, so we've got a little bit of nice decoration up there. Next thing we need to do is work out where we're going to put the RI and the P, which obviously the I is going to go underneath, so just want a little bit. Just a little bit of glue there, and obviously this is where the tweezers come in. Now I know that this is black on black, so it's going to be very kind of difficult for you to see. And then we'll do the R. I'm just going to tilt them slightly. And then the P. You may be wondering why I painted them first before sticking them down. It's because I wanted to make sure I got right into all of the detail. Okay, so now we've got the wings that can go down. I think what I'll do is I'll stick the skull to the wings first. Because I'm using wood glue, it just makes it a little bit easier. And then I can just drop that under there. And like I said, it's PVA. So what I'll do is I'll let that cluster just sit for a minute while I work on the next bit. So we've got the grass, which I obviously want to do green. So I've got two different shades of green here. I've got dark green, which is avocado, Deco Americana obviously, and I've got festive green. So I'm going to paint the whole thing in the dark green first. So just use that brush will do. Now I could have painted this with white gesso to start off with, but it doesn't really make any difference. And I'm not particularly bothered about getting a fantastically even coat on this, because when you look at grass, it's not all one shade, it's not all one flat colour. Just hold that down. So that's the darker of the greens. Just let that soak in. There we go. So before it dries completely, I'm going to get a bit of a detail brush. That one will do. Oh, it's just throwing the paint all over him. Good job the top wasn't up. And then I'm going to take some of the light green, the festive green, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go over and just paint in some detail. Just giving it a bit of, so it doesn't all look one colour. And I like to do this just still while it's wet, because you do get a little bit of a nice kind of blend. And then you can come back in once it's dry . Let's give it a quick blast. Okay. And then you can mix in if you want the different shades. Just so that it's all different. And you can even swish it round and then just do some lines. all kinds of different shades. Just so it's not all the same colour. And then we can take the base that we painted earlier and literally just go over with a mixture of the two. So that glue on the base is now set, so it doesn't take long. The whole project, really, once you get going, doesn't take long to complete. Let's just round the back. Okay, so now what you can do is you can hold it up to the front to see if you've managed to get a nice kind of blend if you want to. Going to paint that raw black edge. There we go. That'll do. Let's get that dried off. Okay, so I just had a quick tidy up. So obviously I now need to stick my main cluster down. So I'll just stick a little bit of glue on there, a little bit on there, and then we can flip that over and just drop that down onto there. Like I said before, don't worry about the white of the glue because it is just PVA, so that means it's going to be see-through when it's dry. Okay, just need to leave that for a few minutes just to dry and set. Okay, so now that that's all done, so we've got the base painted, we've got the first coat of the gesso on the actual tombstone itself. You can see the glue's now just gone transparent, which is fine. So now we're onto the zombie hands. So I've got a little collection of colours here. We've got coral shell, we've got sea aqua, which is a kind of sickly green, and I've got slate grey. So what I'm going to do is find a small brush. There we go, that should do it. And then a little detail brush. And I'm going to mix up some colours that are vaguely sort of fleshy coloured, but also kind of zombie-ish colours. So we also want some of that horrible green in there, but I also want to tone it down with a little bit of kind of pale pallid grey. So that's going to be my palette for the hands. So let's just give it a first coat of that kind of washy, kind of pinky toned fleshy colour, but while that's still wet, let's just grab a little bit of the green, just add in some of that kind of colour. Now then, I thought perhaps I might need some of the grey in there, but it looks as though the green mixing with that coral colour has kind of turned it. I'm hoping that's not too bright on the camera. I might have to fix it in post settings. Just see if I can just dim it down a little bit. No, let's not fuss with it, otherwise I might just make it worse. So I'm going to dab it on. There's the first kind of fleshy tone. I'm just grab some of that green and just work it kind of and then just mix a bit more up. Yeah, it is kind of going a bit icky colour, isn't it? It's kind of like do a motley colour. Mix in a bit. Eugh. Yeah, very icky colour. And then just a little bit of kind of that greeny, almost undead colour. There we go. Okay, I think I'm kind of happy with those colours. Let me just give them a quick blast with the heat gun. And then what else I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a little piece of naturel sponge, au naturel, and then just take some black. I know I haven't used that grey yet, but don't worry. Tiny little bit of the black. A little bit of that heather. Tiny little bit of the black. Just mix it together a little bit. And then I'm just going to put a little bit of kind of texture on the arms. Oh, typical. Just when you didn't want that to happen, it goes and happens. That's okay, let's grab that brush a little bit. Just dry it off first. Right, nothing we can't fix. See, you'd never know, would you? Right, let's take a little bit of that black. A little bit of the grey. Too pronounced over there, I think. That'll do. I think we've got some horrible hands. Right. So let me get cleaned up, dried off, and I'll be right back. Okay, so they're dry, so what I want to do is just add in a little bit of kind of detail, just maybe a few kind of fingernails-y. Just a little bit of detail. There we go, and then we can put some maybe a little bit of detail in. There we go. Haha, love it. Alright, so we'll put those to one side. So that's the hands and the grass sorted out. Now the main detail on the body. So indigo blue, artist quality texture paste, true grit, and I've also got a spatula that I've got here. Waste not, want not. You can already hear how gritty it is. There we go. That should be enough. So I'll just clean that off, because otherwise if you leave it sat on your spatula, you'll end up putting it in the bin. Okay, so I've got a ink blending foam. I forgot what the word was there. And I'm going to load it up with the texture paste. I'm going to go all over, creating texture, including the bones, dem bones. We're just going to squish it in so it goes everywhere. And the beauty about this is you can do more than one coat, and it doesn't matter if you get lumps or imperfections in it, because it just then looks a bit more like real stone. Don't forget not to put anything on there. And you can go a bit wild with the texture if you want. Then I flip round. Make sure you get on the lettering. Just adding a bit more texture onto the bones so it's a bit heavier. And then you can grab yourself a brush. I know that one had a bit of paint in it, but it didn't make any difference, and you can get underneath if you want. Get your texture paste between your letters. And if it's clogged up any of the kind of detail, you can just brush it out. Bit of texture paste. Pounce it. Spounce it. There we go. So there's a little bit just tucked in there. Just around the bones. And then just pounce it off. Okay, so I'm happy with the coverage on that. So we'll get it dry, get this cleaned up, and then I'll be back. Okay, so the texture paste is now dry enough for me to add some paint to it. So either black acrylic or black gesso, doesn't really make any difference. So this is going to be your first kind of layer, your first decorative layer, as opposed to a primer layer for the actual wood itself. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to go all the way over everything with the black paint. So this obviously is going to take a few minutes to go over the whole lot, and is not going to be very interesting for you guys to watch. So you've seen me start it, so I'll join with you when I've painted the whole thing with that first coat of the black. Hello, Mr. Bentley Booze. Have you brought Teddy up to play? Okay then. Just give me a second and I'll have a break. Okay, haven't cleared away that because I'm going to be using what's left over in a little while. And I forgot to mention, that big pile of texture paste that was left on my desktop here, I didn't throw it away. I did scrape it up and put it back in the pot, just in case you were wondering. Right, okay, so next coat is going to be slate grey. But for this one, I'm going to take some of the black and we're going to do a darker kind of colour. And at this point, I'm going to get some tissue and I'm going to start to build up grey layers. So I'm going to start with the dry brushing, just picking up that texture. So darker layer first. That's the one. just going to keep on going over and over and over and over and over. Different directions with the brush, picking out the texture. So left, right, up and down, backwards and forwards. So just mixing the colour. Keep on going over everything multiple times, just building up the layers of the grey colour, going in different directions, left, right, up, down. Keep on going until everywhere is covered, and you've got different shades, different kind of mottled passes. And just keep on going. Layer after layer after layer. So what I'll do is I'll keep on going, because you've seen me do this 2 or 3 times now, is I'll just keep on going and going and going until I'm happy with the final rendition of the colour. And I'll put some music on and I'll join with you at the end. Okay, I shouldn't really have stopped the camera there. Before I clean up, I just want to bring in some green. Just one little blob of green. While I've still got that grey and the white, I just want to make a little bit of a greeny grey kind of colour. And then I'm just going to lightly just add a tiny kind of touch of kind of lichen. Then let's grab the white again. Just a little bit of green. Just a tiny touch. Just a little bit of kind of mouldy lichen just growing. I'll just grab the white. Here we go. Just a kind of grungy, greeny, horrible kind of colour. Right, that'll do. So I need to clean up. Let me clean up and then we're ready for final construction. Okay, so quick bit of construction now. So I'm just going to take a little bit of the glue and I'm just going to squeeze it just into that gap, because that's where the actual tombstone itself is going to go and sit. There we go. And it just clicks into place. So now I just want to position where my zombie hands are also going to go. So I'm going to put a little bit of paint, a little bit of glue just on the grass there. Like that, and then turn that one over and that can go just a little bit higher. So when we stick those on, it's going to go like that. So we need to bring that one in a little bit further. Maybe just take a little bit further on this one. I'd say about there. Right, so let's leave those to dry for a minute so that they're in place. That should do it. And then I'll be back just to add that finishing touch. Okay, so those hands are pretty much glued into position now, so I'm going to stand up the tombstone and I'm going to put a thin bead of glue just on this edge here. So just all the way along there like that. And that's all we're going to need. And then if I just tip the tombstone back a little bit, you can see the glue. And all I'm going to do is just rest the grass panel just exactly on that edge, like so, and then we can leave that to dry. Okay, so everything is now dry and stuck together. So there we have it. Let me just pull out a little bit. There we go, that's better. You can see it on now. So yeah, all nicely stuck. So a perfect Ghastly Gravestone from that MDF set. Perfect for a little bit of Halloween decor. Imagine that with some spider web kind of material, where you've got your little bowl full of sweeties for the kids. I'm sure they'd appreciate it. So that's it for this Halloween project for my 7 days of Halloween. Hope you've enjoyed watching me put this little thing together. If you have, please remember to give the video a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel already, you can do so by clicking the button at the end of the video. That's all from me for now. I'll be back again with another Halloween project tomorrow. Bye for now.